Julie Pearson here, NAFAS National Tutor. I'd like to show you today a simple mechanic that I created for a vessel which has a large neck. It doesn't have a natural kind of narrowing to kind of support the stems. And so what I've created using the annealed wire is a construction that we can just pop into the vase and actually creates a really nice crisscross to hold our stems. And so it's quite a mechanic which is not decorative as such, it needs to be covered. And so I would generally line it with some nice foliage, a couple of aspidistra leaves or Vatsea japonica. But for today's purpose I'm just going to leave that in and leave it quite raw. So what I've taken is the annealed wire. Annealed wire is raw steel, opposed to a galvanised or a decorative wire which is coloured. It's been dipped or waxed, or it's got a plastic coating. So annealed wire is the wire that we use, which is the bobbin wire at Christmas, which when you put outside it starts to decompose. So when it comes in contact with humidity, moisture or water, it starts to decompose, and you can see how actually these wires have kind of already started that process. And so what I want to create in creating this kind of nice rosette axis, can I see that radial movement from the centre? So what we've got is 6 stems here in the centre which have been placed together, which is just one of those. Can you see? And how I've done that is taking, to create 4 points, I've actually put 2 16-inch 1.2 wires together. You could use a 1.8 wire, but it takes greater manual dexterity because of the resistance of the strength of wire, and actually one wire would only create 2 spikes. If you had lots of woody foliage or kind of larger stems like an amaryllis, that would be fine. But if you were using daintier, narrower stems, then I think this kind of these 2 wires together seem more appropriate. So what I've done is I've taken a vessel, a circular vessel, placed the wire in the middle and wrapped that wire around my vessel. So much so that, can you see how the wires there are similar? So it's almost like a double leg mount with your wiring. So they don't have to be exact, but they're similar. And so we've created kind of a spring effect. Let me just do that again for you. So taking your wire, putting your column and wrapping your wire around in a fluid motion. So we don't want it jagged, not that it's going to be seen in your design, it's just it makes the aesthetic and your mechanic. When it's on the shelf in your studio, you want it to look quite nice. And if you're a demonstrator and you want to give it away, again, when someone takes those flowers out, they want a nice mechanic that they can keep. I actually do, when I use these in demonstrations, I give the whole thing away. And so we want 12 of those. So let me just put this away. And so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to be my centre, and so we want to link those using my cable ties, and I'm using grey today purely so you can see it on the screen. And so I've bundled those quite nicely so they're kind of flat. And so can you see how that's going to be my centre, because when I open that up, that's going to create my radial kind of movement. And can you see how that hopefully relates to that? So now we need to secure them together. So we open this up and we take one of those springs, and then we attach a new one to those sides. Can you see how that's securing? So this is attaching to that and securing it together. Cable ties, they're not, you can get cable ties which unclasp, which are a little bit more sustainable, But really I can justify that to myself on the basis that this is not a throwaway thing that we only use once. I've used one of these a number of times. It might be that we have to spray it more than actually get rid of it, purely because the aerosol, the spray, the aerosol comes off. But can you see how it becomes more solid as we connect those pieces, those side pieces together? So I'm taking my central radial motion here, linking it here, so we're creating a triangle. So we're creating and securing those triangles and just working your way around. Now you could leave your cable ties on if you wish. If you had lots of fine grasses that you wish to incorporate within your design, then I would leave them on, because it gives you a further point of axis, kind of a crisscrossing to secure your stems. So can you see how that's forming now? It's becoming more solid. So I would just cut those off. Again, using the correct scissors for the intended purpose, using wire cutters for your plastics and your wires, and using your floristry wires for your cut stems. So can you see how that's kind of going towards that and how secure that is? It's actually quite decorative. For this one design, that does fit rather nicely into that, and I can put a nice collection of flowers in. But if I had a flat tray or a larger container, then I would actually make perhaps half dozen, 3, 4, 5, and then link those together in a circle fashion or elongated, depending which we wanted to use. So that's my mechanic. What's really important is it's annealed wire. We need to galvanise it in order to place it in water. So you need to spray it with an aerosol or a varnish. Again, you can get some which are more environmentally friendly than others, and also you can make it quite decorative. Obviously, health and safety, you need to spray outside, goggles, do a risk assessment if you're doing a teaching, but well ventilated area is really important, and possibly spray on a card. So let's do some flowers. So I have clean water, my wire is secure. Again, I would usually put some foliage in to hide that, but today I'm just going to leave it as it is. And so I'm just going to do a basic design where I've collected some skimmia from the garden, and it's just to prove my point really of just, this is a dainty design, but when you place the materials in, the materials stay where they're put, where they're placed, because we've got that lots of movement. Also the shorter stems, because you've got that different levels, as long as your water level is going to the top of your container, then all your stems don't need to go to the bottom. You just need to remember to keep that container topped up with water. And so you can see all those stems, even with the movement of the turntable, are really secure. So let's put some flowers in. So I've got some beautiful spray roses, which is called Charming Piano, but isn't that just scrummy? They look like a garden rose. So a very, very traditional design. But look, that's secured that stem. Placing them in. Just look at those, they're just falling. They're slightly top heavy, the roses. I actually bought them really as short stems. So I don't have the expense of actually cutting short, longer stems. I bought these from the wholesalers just like this. But aren't they absolutely super? And they have a faint tint of an English rose, which is quite unusual these days. But look how that is just going to open like that. So they're going to last. So the flowers, the stems in the vase are not radial, they're not parallel, which is why really we need to line the container. They're placed quite unattractively and quite random within the container. So I think just a few grasses, just in contrast, adding a little bit of the bronze, and just kind of lifts out the burgundy, the inner colour of the spray rose. So I think we did Constance Bryce justice here. She's just gone around the garden, collected her perennial grasses, a few spray roses, using a nice container from the kitchen. Just one more this side. And then again, just to really kind of give some depth to the design, just a few pieces of the beautiful Scabiosa Scooby. We add these a little bit lower to add just a little bit of transition, a little bit of depth into the design, which will just lift beautifully that pink. And so how's that? It's just something you can do watching TV. I made kind of a 50 of these the other night, ready for some designs. But how simple, you don't need masses and masses of foliage, so there's kind of a good economy element to this design. And also when you want to change the water, the beauty of it is you can just lift it out, have a bowl of water ready, pop that in your bowl of water, clean, add fresh flower food, and just pop that back in. Foolproof! So I hope I've inspired you. Enjoy, and get playing with your whites that have been in the cupboard for such a long time. Bye bye.